talk about radicalisation and extremism, you know, those things, those two words that you love hearing on a daily basis, I'm sure, if you're a British Muslim. That people who think the West is bad and live here think democracy is wrong and yet are more than happy to enjoy the freedoms. Are those people extremists? Sanjay is in Leicester. Sanjay, good morning.
Mate.
What would you like to say?
I just wanted to say, well, I was going to say something else, but after listening to Tahir and this other caller, I just want to say that, you know, the main objective for Islam is started to take over the world, and I have proof of that. The proof is that
why is that any different to Christianity, which is also a proselytizing religion? Christianity went around the world. Good grief, look at India. The amount of Christians that are in India, and Catholic missionaries and Catholic schools and Christian schools. You think they just turned up overnight? No, that was due to empire and conquest, wasn't it?
Christians have done a lot of wrong as well, but they're not still doing it. Okay, but if you don't mind, if I can just quickly finish off what I was saying, there are 60 Muslim countries, and if you look at every single country, most of all the countries, the religious minorities are just decreasing in population, while in democratic countries, non-Muslim countries like this, India, Muslims are increasing more than anyone. So what does that show you there? I mean,
it just shows they're having children.
No, that's their plan, is to take over the world.
Well, that's their prerogative.
Yeah,
if they want to start a family and have a big family, what's wrong with that?
It's to take over the world. It's not love, it's to take over the world. And like I've said, why are all the religious minorities being decimated from all the Muslim countries?
Why are the Muslims in Burma being decimated? And why were Muslims in Sri Lanka attacked by the majority?
Because of reasons. These was reactions, that's why. It wasn't that they...
Well, how can it be a reaction where you're a minority? Well, if you're being oppressed by a majority, I mean, that's the same argument as saying, well, the Jews asked for it in Second World War, pre-Second World War Germany, which would, of course, be a incredibly offensive thing to say.
You know, the heart of Islam is Saudi Arabia, and guess what? Guess how many Hindu temples there? 0. And the heart of Hindustan...
Sorry, what was the history of Hinduism in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East?
So what was the history?
How many
the history of Islam in India?
How many Hindu temples were there in the Middle East 1,000 years ago?
There were loads.
There were loads of Hindu temples in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, there was Shiv temples, everything. Of course there was, thousands of years ago.
There were Hindu temples in Saudi Arabia.
Of course there were. The Shiv temples, loads of them, yeah.
Do you know what? Do me a favour, Sanjay. Have you got email?
Yeah.
Can you email nihal@bbc.co.uk a link to the places, the exact places where Hindu temples were in the Middle East 1,000 years ago? Sanjay, thank you very much indeed. We've got to move on. Hussein is in Nottingham. Good morning, Hussein.
Everyone gets fed the daily news through the media. I think one of your chaps who called in, I mean, he's absolutely hilarious. He's discussing about Muslims want to take over. I mean, if he had half a brain cell, if he actually has, you know what I mean, knowledge enough to actually study what's actually going on, he'll understand that democracy has always been happening by the Americans. They've always tried to take over every country. They're trying to put their footprint everywhere. I mean, they even try to put the footprint on the moon. I mean, just tells you what level they're looking to go to. Muslims are not out there to take over the world. That chap who called in who assumes the Muslims are going to take over the world, again, you can tell he doesn't have much knowledge on it. He probably, I mean, if he knows much about his own religion, he's probably one of these chaps who probably hasn't been religious his entire life, read a few books and things that he knows everything. Islam is one of the most peaceful religions.